What's good? Welcome back to another episode of Where the Money At. We on episode 33, and you know we keeping it rocking and rolling. Look, today we got a bunch to talk about. We're going to talk about short-term Bitcoin price action, the mindset we need to have going into the next couple years coming up, something I call understanding the entire scope of cryptocurrency and digital assets, and then we're going to end it off with a very important topic of global liquidity. So let's get right into it. Let me share my screen. So let's start off with CoinGecko. We got Bitcoin sitting at basically 27,000. We have Ethereum sitting at around 1653, and we have BNB sitting at around 214. Now, you know, the last couple weeks, months, price action has been boring, but within the last 24 hours, we have gotten a small pump. So let's just go into it really quickly. Let's pull up TradingView. So like we said, Bitcoin's sitting at basically 27,000. And if we check the local ranges, let's look at some areas where it's hit a couple times. Let's say between 26,800 and 25,300. So this is the local range we've been in for the last, let's say, since August 16th. We've bounced around, broke above it, broke under it. And as you see, if we zoom out, I have the 200-day EMA coming, and we have been testing it as support and resistance. But lately, we've been testing it as resistance. Broke through again. It looks like we're trying to go above it again. So let's see what happens. And if we look at the Fib retracement, just to get a better idea of where the price could be for the short to mid term, from our last local high or our all-time high of 70,000 to our local low of about 15,000. We're in the zone between 0 and 0.236. And we've been in this red zone for a while. So it's looking like we could turn the top of it into resistance. We do have this major downtrend that we're going, so we could bounce below it. But then again, if we bounce above it, we could head to the 382 and head a little higher. But you know, it's all a guessing game right now. We're in no man's land, but you know, it's not about price action right now. We should be making our plan to see what we're going to do moving forward as far as how we're going to handle digital assets, cryptocurrency, and how we're going to invest. None of this is financial advice. But one thing I want to get into real quick is the mindset of how we should be thinking about these things. So I got a special guest.
You ain't ready to put 5 years of grind into anything without making a quarter. Right. Don't even start. Sometimes it takes that long to get over the hump. A lot of people want checks, but bosses cut checks. We want the money, but we also got to use the money to make the money. So it's really about having that mentality that you're ready to work. The reward comes when you get down and you get on your grind. Do not complain about what you didn't get from the work you didn't put in.
I really want to focus on the first part of what he said, because this goes specifically to cryptocurrency, but a lot of other things that we're dealing with.
You ain't ready to put 5 years of grind into anything without making a quarter. Right. Don't even start. Sometimes.
So we're in a bear market right now. We don't know when the next time cryptocurrency is going to run again. It could run next week, it could run next year, or it could run 10 years from now. So you have to be prepared either way. So, and it goes past cryptocurrency, the brand you want to start, your side hustle, the next career you want to get into, what moves you want to make, what business you want to start, anything like that. It could take 5+ years to get off the ground. And the second part of what let's get into the second part of what he said.
It takes that long to get over the hump. A lot of people want checks, but bosses cut checks. We want the money, but we also got to use the money to make the money.
So let's say you start a business, and within the first year, you profit 100 grand, but your overhead is 95 grand. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people want to start something so they can make money at that moment and start spending it right then and there. But you may have to wait some years before you get to the point where you're making enough profit to where you can actually spend that money. You know what I'm saying? You may even be in the hole, in the negative for the first couple of years before you get to that point. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to have a long-term mindset and not be rushed, because at this point, with how expensive the average house is, with inflation, with the average cost of a used car, a new car, we can see that money doesn't go as far as it used to, and it doesn't look like it's gonna get better. So we have to be extremely meticulous and extremely careful. But let's get into the real things of what I want to talk about today. I just wanted to pop out with that. I'm not big on the big motivational stuff, but sometimes you gotta listen to it. That's Ice Cube, that's the big dog. So let's talk about something I call understanding the entire scope of cryptocurrency and digital assets. So I just made this quick little note. There's about 4 areas that I want you guys to focus on when we say cryptocurrency. Because if you come to this channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, the tokens, what the financial institutions are doing, what I'm saying, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just break it down into the 4 main areas we can focus on. First is retail investors with projects. And I consider that everything on CoinGecko, all of these projects here, the things that we can find exchanges and get into, you know what I'm saying? The tokens that these projects create for their blockchains, their projects, or whatever. That's one area. This is what I would actually consider cryptocurrency. And then we have the products that financial institutions are building with blockchain, the digitization of assets, tokenization, et cetera, et cetera. So when I talk about that, we're talking about PayPal. We talked about this before. PayPal came up with its own stablecoin. So we know if PayPal is coming out with a stablecoin, which they work in transactions, that's their main thing, is making transactions faster and cheaper. Other companies are working on it. These are the type of products that are being created, and we need to pay attention to these things. Then there's investing around crypto, like Bitcoin mining companies like Circle and Tether, who are stablecoin companies, and exchanges. So if we look at the largest Bitcoin miners by market capitalization, Riot Blockchain has a $1.75 billion valuation at an extremely bearish price point as far as Bitcoin goes. And the next one has 1.5. So there are other things going on. There's money to be made around cryptocurrency that doesn't necessarily involve buying Bitcoin or buying actual cryptocurrency tokens. There's other operations that are getting started. And once something is created, a market around it can be created. So maybe you can pay attention to some things like that and find more opportunities. And also there's exchanges, Coinbase, BNB. BNB has a token, but Coinbase is actually listed on the NASDAQ. So there will be other exchanges in the future that will be listed, and it's at a good price. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at the point where I'm buying stocks, but it's definitely something to pay attention to, because we all know these Bitcoin mining companies and these exchanges will run when cryptocurrency as a whole runs. You know what I'm saying? Not financial advice, but you know what I'm saying. And then the last thing is institutional investors with Bitcoin products like ETF, pension funds, over-the-counter, etc. So what are the institutional investors are doing? And institutional investors are large-scale investors like BlackRock, who have billions of dollars to throw into assets. So there's already Bitcoin ETFs, and you see that's ProShares, Bitwise, Valkyrie, Global X, Schwab, and I'm pretty sure all these are futures Bitcoin. Some of them may be spot, but we're really waiting on the BlackRock spot ETF to get started. And then after BlackRock gets theirs approved, or some other large institution gets theirs approved, there's going to be an array of spot Bitcoin ETFs. All these are futures right now. You know what I'm saying? So there's more products being created, and I just think it's something we should pay attention to. But I consider all those things that are within the scope of cryptocurrency and digital assets, because when you just say cryptocurrency, there's a lot you could think of, and this is the way that I broke it down. And along with all that information, you kind of want to try your best to understand global economics and regional economics and your country's economics, what's going on around you. And I feel like understanding pretty much all that, you can kind of take your studies wherever you need to go and find your niche and find wherever you need to be to find the best opportunities. So let me give an example of one more of these. Which one is it? The financial products that institutions are creating. So when I say the study, what I try to do is I try to find where the future is going. And based off of that, you can pretty much pick out or be able to put yourself in a position to spot out the best opportunities. So we have Chainlink CEO Sergey Nazarov here, and he's talking to some Australian banker that I'm pretty sure they're partnering with, and he's integrating their software into their bank. But they're discussing the future of what banks are looking for. So let's just give it a quick little listen.
Way of doing business for them and their customers. What about you? What do you think is going to happen in the future of, I mean, you've talked a big story today. I think it's something we've definitely bought into. But what do you think 5 to 10 years from now, what a digital asset market's going to be looking like for this audience?
I mean, it's pretty simple for me. Every bank's going to have its own chain. Every bank's going to have its own stable coin. And every bank is going to have hundreds of real world assets that they take from the real world and they package into tokenized blockchain things. You know, there was this word securitization.
So that's the part I really wanted to focus on. He said every bank will have their stable coin and everybody will have their own blockchain. So clearly interoperability and communication and interacting between chains will be big in the future based off of that. And that's just his theory. You know, who knows if he's right, but I think that's a pretty interesting theory. And I'll drop the link to the entire segment here. In full transparency, I do own Chainlink, but that's not necessarily why I found this video. It's just he's always out there in the public speaking and giving information. So if they're speaking and giving information, I'm definitely listening. But all transparency, I do own Chainlink. And the last thing I want to get into is a topic about global liquidity. That's been the big thing I've been focused on, and that's kind of the thing that determines, in my mind, a little bit, one of the main factors if I'm bullish or bearish. And let's look at this chart here. Now, I want you to look at this chart. Very complex. I did not come up with this. Full transparency, I stole this from the guy Data Dash. You know what I'm saying? One of the crypto content OGs. And he dropped this query. Where was it? He dropped this query, and I actually paused the video and copied the query. But this is he's talking about global liquidity, so I got to be transparent. You know what I'm saying? But he put it on YouTube. I looked at it. I really enjoyed what he's talking about. So he's talking about global liquidity. So if you understand anything about the pandemic, a lot of what bankers and institutional money are saying was the economy that we went into before the pandemic is not the economy that we are in once we came out of the pandemic. And that's been one of the biggest generational shifts that we've ever seen. And the full ramifications of that, I'm still trying to understand myself. You know what I'm saying? Because when I heard people talking about it, they're always very cryptic about it. But one thing about global liquidity is so much money was pumped into the world around February 20th, 2020, late 2019, early 2020. So much at one time. And it seems to be the biggest jump based off of this query. You know what I'm saying? And I'll look for more queries on better information about global liquidity. But we have to deal with the ramifications of this area here. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we have indications for are lagging. You know what I'm saying? All the inflation data is lagging. So we don't know if we've dealt with this issue or not yet. But here's something that I'm really paying attention to. Let me take the EMA off of it. I'm not necessarily looking at the EMA for this. But from what I see is Japan, Canada, Europe, USD, you know, a bunch of things put together. And shout out to the guy Data Dash for dropping this query because I'm definitely using it. Got it from him, full transparency. But, you know, that's what I'm looking at right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot going on in crypto, and I don't want it to be overwhelming. That's why I try to take these things and sum it up as best as I can and try to bring the best information as possible to you. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up there, man. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, and I'm going to holler at y'all.